We'll start with the invocation that's on the front page of the prayer booklet. And I think all of you in the Zoom know it, so I'm not going to put it in the chat window, but I'm not neglecting you. I just have confidence in you. Towards the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Amen. And we're today going to visit one of Murshid's longest prayers. I do know that it is very long, and this is the prayer Salat. I do have good reasons for wanting to share this prayer today, but I will talk with you more about them after we get things rolling over here. So if you open your booklet, it'll be the second prayer in there. And I'm going to put it in the chat window in two different sections because it's too long to fit on one thing. Okay. So please join me in the prayer if you wish. Most gracious Lord, Master, Messiah, and Savior of humanity, we greet Thee with all humility. Thou art the first cause and the last effect, the divine light and the spirit of guidance, Alpha and Omega. Thy light is in all forms, Thy love in all beings, in a loving mother, in a kind father, in an innocent child, in a helpful friend, and in an inspiring teacher. Allow us to recognize Thee in all Thy holy names and forms. Let us, where are we? As Rama, as Krishna, as Shiva, as Buddha. Let us know Thee as Abraham, as Solomon, as Zarathustra, as Moses, as Jesus, as Muhammad, and in many other names and forms known and unknown to the world. We adore Thy past. Thy presence deeply enlightens our being, and we look for Thy blessing in the future. O Messenger, Christ, Nabi, the Rasul of God, Thou whose heart constantly reaches upward, Thou comest on earth with a message, as a dove from above when Dharma decayeth, and speakest the word that is put into Thy mouth, as the light filleth the crescent moon. Let the star of the divine light shining in Thy heart be reflected in the hearts of Thy devotees. May the message of God reach far and wide, illuminating and making the whole humanity as one single family in the parenthood of God. Amen. Thank you, Sophia. I needed you on that one. I distracted myself. Okay, so we're going to continue onward. I was going to say we're going to start with, but we already started with the invocation. It's a lot. And we're going to do a song that includes a zikr phrase that is a little bit unusual for those of you who are familiar with our usual zikr phrases. That is, La anna illa anta. Let me put the words for it in the chat window for our online friends. La anna illa anta. And we'll also use the wazifa concentration of Ya Latif. Ya Latif. And so in the Arabic names, the beautiful names of God, Latif is the subtle, that indicates a presence that is within each and everything that we can find and that we can experience, that we can feel, but we have to pay attention for it. It doesn't make itself known without our looking for it. And it's a good practice for approaching teachings and readings and words and wisdom gems that we may or may not understand, with our intelligent consciousness. And so it's an invitation for us to pay attention with a nuanced, extra attentive awareness for the subtlety that is within the teachings. And so Ya is the invoking, that's the calling forth of this quality within ourselves, and Latif is the name of God that means the subtle. So we'll alternate between the zikr phrase of La Anna Illa Anta and Ya Latif. So La Anna Illa Anta, sorry I'm talking so much. I think it's nice to let you know what we're saying. Do you already know these things? Are you bored? No. Okay. So
I'm not sure I know all of them.
Welcome, Yochanan.
Thank you.
So La means no, Anna means I, Illa means accept, and Anta means you. So this zikr phrase is saying it's not about me, it's all about you. And when we're saying Ya Latif, or any of the beautiful names of God, or any ways that we can point ourselves in the direction that we want to be attending to, we negate the self-referencing, the assumptions, the attachments, the traps and tricks of our ego selves, in order to be open to perceiving and orienting in the direction of our ideals. So you're welcome to sing either part you wish, anytime you wish. The two parts overlap harmoniously. Reminding myself of the melody. Just a second. Almost there. La na illa welcome. You're welcome to stay there if you wish, and you're welcome to come over here. I'm guessing this is your friend Forrest.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I was like, didn't want to interrupt you guys.
You can come through.
Thank you.
And I'm Sarah. I'm happy to meet you in person.
Mary, nice to meet you too.
Okay. So today's theme, I always choose a theme. Hi. Oh, good. Thank you. I feel like I can, it's like an aerobics class. I can spread my heart wings. And hello, Aliela. Welcome. I'm sorry you're not sleeping, Aliela. It's like midnight, 12:20 a.m. in Moscow. Okay, so today's theme is on the path of initiation and discipleship in Sufism, which is such a vast, infinite realm that we're just gonna like dabble a little today. And so I pulled some teachings from Murshid, and my intention right now, from all of my diligent planning, is that I'll read a little bit and then we'll do a practice, and then read a little bit and then do a practice that will alternate between wazifa practices, which is reciting specific beautiful names of God that in some way reference or awaken those qualities that he's speaking about within ourselves, or some breath practices. I'm aiming toward doing a qasab practice with the fun-killing metronome, and sorry about that. Oh, you probably love the metronome, huh?
I can take it or leave it.
I bet you are your own like human form of metronome in a more disciplined way than most of us are able.
Well, thank you. But as I say, I can take it or leave it.
Yeah. Okay. So my husband calls it the fun killer, and I think it's hilarious, so I call it the fun killer. Okay. So this is from volume 10, the Sufi message volumes that Murshid left. When I say Murshid, I'm referring to Inayat Khan. I have one of his pictures right there, but he's also on the front of the prayer booklets, and he's also on Aliela's Zoom window in there. So while Murshid was traveling and teaching, which is between, he actually wasn't doing lecturing in the year 1910, even though that's when he came to the United States and started his work in the Western world. But he probably started giving teachings the following year in 1911. And most of the message volumes that we have, which is at least 13 volumes of text of teachings that he gave, they're mostly transcripts of talks that he gave. That is, there would be 1 to 4 of his murids, of his students in an audience that would take notes about, like, trying to document every word that he shared, and then they would compile them to make it the complete picture, and then he would go through and edit them and correct words that were not right, or so there was a collaborative effort that went into those message volumes. Right now that I'm aware of, there are actually 14 volumes, but one of them is just an index, so it doesn't, that's why I'm not counting it. So this is from Sufi Message Volume 10, and the whole volume is Sufi mysticism, and this is on a section from the path of initiation and discipleship, and he called this particular set of teachings the different steps on the path. People make a great many mysteries out of the name initiation. But the simple explanation of initiation is trust on the part of the pupil and confidence on the part of the initiator. Trust on the part of the pupil, confidence on the part of the initiator. I heard from my Murshid, from my initiator, something which I shall never forget. In quotes, this friendship, this relationship which is brought about by initiation between two persons, is something which cannot be broken. It is something which cannot be separated. It is something which cannot be compared with anything else in the world. It belongs to eternity. End quote. When this initiation takes place, it then becomes the responsibility of the initiator to think of the welfare and well-being of his pupil. And it becomes the responsibility of the initiated to be faithful and true, steady and unshaken through all tests and trials. Welcome, Sadiq.
Hey.
I'm so happy to see you. Okay, we were all distracted by the much more important presence of Sadiq that pulled all of us away from Murshid's words to our friend, living embodied friend over here. Would you like to hear any of that again? Here's the whole thing again, just because I figure you want to hear it. From Sufi Message Volume 10, Sufi Mysticism, The Path of Initiation and Discipleship, the different steps on the path. People make a great many mysteries out of the name initiation, but the simple explanation of initiation is trust on the part of the pupil and confidence on the part of the initiator. I heard from my Murshid, from my initiator, something which I shall never forget. Quote, this friendship, this relationship which is brought about by initiation between two persons is something which cannot be broken. It is something which cannot be separated. It is something which cannot be compared with anything else in the world. It belongs to eternity. End quote. When this initiation takes place, it then becomes the responsibility of the initiator to think of the welfare and well-being of his pupil. I want you to know that that statement right there encapsulates the entirety of the promise that an initiator makes. That's the whole thing right there. Everything else is commentary. When this initiation takes place, it then becomes the responsibility of the initiator to think of the welfare and well-being of his pupil. And it becomes the responsibility of the initiated to be faithful and true, steady and unshaken through all tests and trials. Here's the wazifa practice. We'll start with Ya Wakil. In the Persian form is Vakil with a V sound, and in the Arabic it's Wa with a W sound. So that's perfectly fine.
A tickle in my throat.
Yeah.
Would be like
Totally
literally
fine.
turning into coffee
Yeah.
someday.
So Wakil is the trustee, or the trustworthy, or the trusting. So the essence of this beautiful name of God is trust. That means that it is holding in confidence and with respect, with positive regard, with consistency, one's own responsibilities. And so every time we use these wazifa practices, it's awakening these qualities within ourselves. And Murshid gave specific instructions that it's not even invoking something from outside, that we're invited to keep our hands on our bodies, so we're affirming and experiencing these things within ourselves. So Ya Wakil or Ya Vakil is awakening within ourselves the quality of trust, of confidence, of holding responsibilities with consistency. And we'll recite this probably 33 times. If we get to 33 and I keep going, it's not a mistake. It'll be because I feel like we haven't done it enough. But I'm aiming for 33. Ya Wakil, 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 Ya Wakil. And then we'll also recite another beautiful name of God that is Ya, again invoking Quddus. It's spelled with a Q in English alphabet, but in the Arabic, the Q sound makes a q that goes back into the body, not aspirated forward. So there's a sense of impressing ourselves with this particular quality. And Quddus is the holy or the purified or the sacred. So it is. It's not creating so much as affirming and attuning to the atmosphere of blessedness and holiness within ourselves. And it can be all around us as well, but again, we want to really focus on inviting a full experience of these beautiful names of God within us. So we'll do 33 recitations of Ya Quddus, 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 Ya Quddus. Back to Murshid's words. I should say, this is an excerpt from the text. I didn't include the entire chapter, but I didn't add or rearrange anything. But there were some sections where there would be a few sentences in a row that I didn't think were necessary to get the idea of it. So It's not the complete text, but it is complete in itself. Okay. Devotion requires an ideal. And the ideal of the Sufis is the God ideal. They attain to this ideal by a gradual process. They first take bayat, initiation, from the hand of one whose presence gives them confidence that he will be a worthy counselor in life and a guide on the path as yet untrodden, and who at the same time shows them in life the image of the Rasul personality, the personality of the ideal man. He is called pure Murshid. There are a couple things I should explain in there before we do another practice. So devotion requires an ideal. I think we're good with that. The ideal of the Sufis is the God ideal. There we get a little tankly, because Murshid talks a lot about the God ideal and about the Sufis need and work with the God ideal as the quality of God, the entity of God that really represents for each individual person their highest values, their greatest needs, and the resonance within their own hearts. So Murshid is very clear that every single human being has their very own unique personal God ideal, right? So it's not anybody else's God, nobody else's God ideal. That is the embodiment of these qualities that reflect the highest longing and experience of the heart. Okay? They attain to this ideal by a gradual process. Is that sentence clear enough? That we move toward that and reach that in a gradual way. They first take bayat, and bayat is a word for initiation. That is a traditional word for it. From the hand of one whose presence gives them confidence that he will be a worthy counselor in life and a guide on the path as yet untrodden. That's part of one sentence. It's a seriously long, complicated, heavy sentence, but that's all part of one sentence. So first, taking initiation, choosing the person that you wish to be initiated with, is choosing someone that you have confidence in. You could leave it at that. You can say, well, confidence in what direction? Well, there has to be an inherent confidence to begin with. And then you can go, okay, and it's probably somebody that you feel can help you move on the path that you haven't yet walked, or that you haven't explored fully, or that you haven't yet understood. So the path yet untrodden, unwalked, unexplored. Okay. Who will be a worthy counselor in life and a guide on the path as yet untrodden. And who, at the same time, shows in life the image of the Rasul personality. Like, what the heck does he mean by that? Oh, that was just me. Anybody else have that question? What does that mean, the Rasul personality? So Rasul is the word that is usually said to mean the prophet. And there's this whole thing in Sufism. There are the prophets that are the really great, magnificent beings, the illuminated human beings who are carrying the message of God for the benefit of humanity in a really big way. So the Rasul is the biggest form of the word for prophet. There are a lot of different words for prophet in the Arabic, and that have different indications about the scope of their teaching, or when and where is this for, and for which community. And the Rasul are the personalities that are bringing the message of God for all of humanity through all time. And there are not very many of those. Those ones are the big ones. So Muhammad is one, Jesus is one, Moses is one. Most likely you could say Buddha is one, and Krishna, that are the avatars, that are the living embodiments of God, but that are giving teachings that are for all time, in all places. Okay. So the Rasul personality is the personality that is embodying the qualities of the prophet, that are carrying these characteristics and this light into the world. Okay. the personality of the ideal man. And when he says the ideal man, he's referring more specifically to the references of Muhammad, that Muhammad was referred to as the ideal man, meaning that it was a living human person in history, but that was embodying all of the highest qualities of the illuminated God ideal on the earth, in the community of human beings. Okay? He is called Pir-o-Murshid. And Pir-o-Murshid is a phrase, a title that we use a lot in Sufism that indicates Pir means elder, that is usually an indication of the teacher of the teachers. And then Murshid is the teacher itself, that is the embodiment of the teachings. And we're going to work with that as a practice next. But if we look at the word Murshid that we use to say teacher, and you could say Murshid for a lot of different people, and you could refer to anyone as your teacher, as your Murshid, as like anybody, everywhere in the world. And there are stories about the Sufis that go around and say, yeah, Murshid to every human being, and then every person who is greeted with that phrase feels like, oh, I must be very special. This person thinks that I am very respectable. And then they can hear that person going and referring to everyone as Murshid, recognizing that everyone is their teacher. So in, again, the beautiful names of God, Rashid is one of the names that means the guide, that is the form of guidance that shows up in everything in life. That is, how can you find the wisdom, the instruction, the direction that you're supposed to go by understanding the realities of life presenting itself in front of you. And so that quality of the guide is inherent in the word Murshid, all of the same root sounds in there of R, SH, and D at the end. Is Rashid, Murshid. Yeah? Okay. So, do you need anything else in there clarified before we do practice? How are you doing out there in Zoom land? Are you okay? I saw one thumb and I see one person sleeping, and then at least two video cameras that are not on. So, all right, I'm going to assume that one thumb is going to speak for all of our Zoom friends. So we'll visit both of these qualities, the Ya Rashid, that is the guide, that is, again, available to every single one of us all the time. That is an invitation to really pay attention and to take life as the teacher. And then we'll also say Ya Murshid, that is more invoking the embodiment of those teachings that we can recognize in another human being. And so this is why I brought the picture of Inayat Khan for the center, and I have my teacher sitting in front of me also. This is Ramat, so I tune into him as well. So first let's do Ya Rashid 33 times. That is the guide. Ya Rashid, 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 Ya Rashid. And we'll also recite Ya Murshid. And with this one, there's an extra quality that I feel with this one, because I have my own sense of living teacher that is the teacher that is in embodied human existence still, that I can call and have a conversation with. And also I refer to Inayat Khan as Murshid a lot, and while he's not in a physical embodied form, I do have conversations with him, not in a psychic or like a what's the word for that? It's not psychic, but I don't channel him, and it's not even like he appears to me or anything. It's that I have enough of an understanding of his teachings and his like living atmosphere that I can turn my attention to him and say, Ya Murshid, meaning help. It's like asking for and inviting his strength, his blessings, his guidance, his presence in my life in my own felt way that I can experience in my heart. It's kind of like how, I probably shouldn't say this, he would not approve of this, but I'm going to say it now anyway because I started. It's kind of like we say, Jesus, come walk with me. That is for people who have a Christian orientation, that there is a sense of available friendship through the entity, the being of Jesus. So I have a similar kind of attunement to Murshid, and it's not that I'm putting him on the same plane, because that's not mine to do, but there is a sense of being able to access the teachers that are not physically walking on the earth anymore, but that I have great confidence that all of the teachers in the silsila, in the chain of teachers in my Sufi lineage stream, I know that each of them, while they were alive, said, I am pouring forth my blessings for this lifetime and for every generation to come, so that all of the students who come onto the path can access me and receive the blessings through my heart and through the teachers that came before me. So I know that each of the teachers in the silsila have made that dedication, and I feel that as an available resource. So I have all confidence that when I turn to Murshid and say, Ya Murshid, that he's right there for me. You don't have to believe that or experience that yourself. I'm just explaining how I experience it. So I invite you in your own way, as we recite Ya Murshid, to just notice what arises for you. If there is any living energy around that for you, or what might present itself in your mind's eye, in your heart, in your energy awareness. And no need to make it anything that it's not, but just be curious about observing if anything arises and what that might be. Okay, so 33 recitations of Ya Murshid. Ya Murshid, 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 Ya Murshid. that one feels extra yummy for me. And I notice, and I'm going to invite you to share anything if you feel inclined to share, and I'll start the ball rolling if there's a ball to roll by saying that for me, I noticed that the first recitation of it, I feel my heart like awake and like swelling. That feels like yummy. And then it kind of hangs out there for the first 10. And then there was another like boost of heart opening fullness that brought tears to my eyes. About 10 repetitions in, I got tears in my eyes, and then it hung out there for a while. And then when we were close to the end, I couldn't just feel where my hands are on my beads. Maybe we're like 5 till the end, and I started feeling sad that we were almost done. and then I had more tears come to my eyes, but not enough to drip down my cheeks, but enough that I still feel the wetness in my eyes. That feels really sweet to me. That feels like just yummy and good and comforting and encouraging for me. Anyone else have any experiences in there you'd like to share?
I could see him, he's right here, so I had to sit there and watch, and it was funny, there are 2 things, like, at first, there's this thought, that's just a picture, this is just a flat picture, and he's not in his body, that was like clear, but then the sha, I could think mer, shud, that's embodiment, sha, had life to it.
Nice.
That was sweet.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sophia. I'm not taking him away from you, but I'm gonna show him to you. So here's the picture that I have in the center of Mershid. Isn't that a nice one? Thank you, Sophia. Anyone else? Anything you'd like to share? Zoom friends, you're welcome to unmute if you want to say something as well.
Multiple people that were teachers.
Nice. Did you hear what Zahira said? She said she noticed herself bopping around to a few different teachers and that it was cool. I think you probably, did you hear what Sophia said? No, Sophia said that because she was looking at the picture of Murshid that's facing toward her in the circle right now. And so she said that at first she thought it's just a picture, that it's not a living, he's not actually there in a body. But then she started feeling into the sound and the meaning of the word itself, and feeling like the mur was the mu part at the beginning was the embodiment, and that the sh felt like it had a living quality about it. I listened. I've been practicing to be a good parrot. Just listen and repeat. Okay, anything else anyone would like to share?
Like Sahira, I tended to think of different teachers, not necessarily Sufi teachers, because my lineage is not necessarily Sufi, it's Christian and musical. And
Nice.
one of the persons I thought of was the great Johann Sebastian Bach.
Did you hear that, Aliella? Nice. Thank you, Yochanan. Aliella put a heart on her thing. I don't know if you know that she. There was some very important title about Bach that was about the most celebrated, proficient pianists, and she earned that award in Russia a couple. Was it 2 years that you earned that distinction, Aliella? I don't remember now. I'm sorry. I don't remember the details of Aliela's credentials, but she's right there with you.
She must be a musician as well.
She's a phenomenal musician, yes.
Yeah. Well, tell her I would love to improvise with her sometime.
Okay, I think she probably heard you. Yochanan would love to improvise with you sometime. Next time you're in the United States, Aliela,
So is
please come
Forrest.
play with Yochanan
And
and Forrest.
you out.
Yes, we've been talking with Forrest about his musicianship as well.
I think there's one on the Zoom call.
Aliela is our
Yes.
friend in Moscow, Russia, the pianist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah, Rashid,
I
yeah,
just like
Murshid.
getting lost in it, so that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Per se, I don't do it in accounts because I just love being lost in it and just saying it, so.
Yeah.
Brings a lot of peace to me when I do it.
Wonderful.
Like you said, sometimes it catches you and you're having tears well up in your eyes or you're getting like a shiver on it,
Mhm.
but it's just beautiful getting lost and
Yeah.
repeating it, so.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I was
Mary.
doing the beats this time, and I noticed I had a very definite rhythm. I would like grasp it with one hand on Yah, and then my other hand would grab the same beat on Murshid.
Uh-huh. Nice. Could you hear what Mary was saying over there? Okay. Okay. Ready for more?
Go.
Go. There are several steps on the path. There are several steps on the path. The first is responsiveness to beauty of all kinds, in music, in poetry, in color or line. The first step on the path is responsiveness to beauty of all kinds. The beautiful name of God for beauty is Jamil. Let's just do this one 11 times. Ya Jamil, 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 Ya Jamil. Three more. Ya Jamil, Ya Jamil, Ya Jamil. The second step is one's exaltation by beauty, the feeling of ecstasy.
That's a separate step.
Yes. So the first step is responsiveness to beauty of all kinds, music, poetry, color, or line. The second is one's exaltation by beauty, not just responsiveness, ecstasy.
Back to Bill's Bach.
Back to, oh yes, we're back to Bach. Okay, so on that note, we're going to do a song, and Aliela, I'm so happy you're with us. This is one of Aliela's compositions that has the beautiful name of God for ecstasy. One of them, there are actually several, but this one is Muta'alli, which is like, it's said to be the momentary bliss. That is, it's not something that you can live in all the time, but it's something that you can invite and have little glimpses of, and that lift the heart, and that can really pull you out of anything. And there's, again, it has the mu at the beginning, so it has an embodied quality, like this is something we experience in our humanness. And Ali is the other root in here, which is the highest, that is the greatest. And so we have this, like, we want to experience, and then when we experience it, we want to notice it, we want to be conscious of it, so that we can remember it later, we can carry the impression of it, even if we can't just hang out there all the time. Yeah. So, Ya Muta'ali, and then also a bunch of Allah. That is the one, the all-pervading one. My voice doesn't want to be that high tonight. Ya Muta'ali, 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 Ya Muta'ali. Allah, Allah. first heard that song, it was a recording that Aliella had made from a rooftop in Israel, I think. Is that true? And so you could hear lots of birds chirping in the background of it. So I always think of the birds chirping from the rooftop when I sing. Thank you, Aliella.
Really pretty. Good job, Aliella.
Everyone here is very pleased with you.
Toda Rabah.
Okay. So did you remember the first step? Responsiveness to beauty. Second step? Ecstasy.
Ecstasy of beauty. Yes.
Okay. The third step is tolerance and forgiveness. These come naturally without striving for them. That's super important. That's like defining essential characteristic. The third step is tolerance and forgiveness. These come naturally without striving for them.
So you just have to do steps 1 and 2 and then wait.
You don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
Okay.
You know, this one is so important because we have so many practices and teachings and focus on forgiveness and tolerance that I don't think there is. Well, I don't know. I should be careful with my language. Do you know anyone who would say it's not a good idea to be tolerant or to be forgiving?
Not anyone that I would choose to associate with.
Right. So I think there's a sweeping human value around forgiveness and tolerance. That doesn't mean that we're all good at it or that it happens or that, it's a challenge. And we tend to fall into this attitude of expectation and demand of ourselves. So if forgiveness and tolerance don't naturally arise, there's something wrong with us or we're failing in some way. And there's also, I've noticed that in myself and in other human beings that I can observe, there are natural tendencies that you can see them evolving and qualities getting stronger and stronger as we move through life, and qualities in one direction or another. That you certainly, I'm going to say you certainly, I have all confidence that all of you have seen people who just get more and more bitter through life, who get less and less tolerant, who get less and less kind and gracious and patient. And you've probably also seen people who get more and more joyful in life, that get more and more relaxed and easeful. And those things do happen naturally without our intervention, for better or worse. And we also have the opportunities to choose and point ourselves in the direction that we want to go in. Do we want to be more bitter and more irritable the older we get? Bill does. I don't know anybody else who does. That I notice in myself, I am much less judgmental and more forgiving and more tolerant the older I get. And that's been true since probably I was like at the peak of my judgmentalism when I was probably like 17. And it's been, now I couldn't say that I've seen a shift of like being less judgmental from my age 17 to my age like 27. That's probably in my own life experience. I feel like, okay, there's childhood. I don't feel like I was a particularly judgmental child or intolerant or impatient with people in general. It set in adolescence, like people are dumb and people suck. And it probably stayed like that for a few years, and then it kind of like just coasted for several more years. And then probably at about age 27 for me, I started being like, I would really like to be less judgmental. I would really like to be more tolerant, more patient, more kind, to be less negatively affected by people's silliness in the world. And that doesn't mean that I've done a good job of it, but I do feel now, I'm 47 now, I feel like now I'm more tolerant, I'm more patient, I'm less judgmental about people in general than I have been at any other time in my life since my teenage years set in, right? So I think the trajectory I'm moving on now is toward more graciousness, more patience with people, right? I didn't make that happen. There wasn't like a moment where I'm like, I forgive everyone, all their transgressions and everything. No. And I do have kind of a cynical worldview about, like, my way of teaching is like, we cannot make forgiveness happen. It either happens or it doesn't, but we cannot make it happen. We can try not to cling and not to be tenaciously attached to our lack of forgiveness, but the most we can do is open the way in case or for when God allows forgiveness to flow through us. But that is not something that we produce or that we force. So I love when Murshid says things that reinforce my worldview. Thank you, Murshid. The third step is tolerance and forgiveness. These come naturally without striving for them. It's nice that these things come after being responsive to beauty and experiencing the ecstasy that beauty can invoke within us. Hi, Yochanan.
When he says these things come naturally, is he just referring to tolerance and forgiveness, or is he also referring to responsiveness and ecstasy of beauty?
No, he was talking about tolerance and forgiveness in that moment. Though he probably would say that those other things happen naturally as well. Okay.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
The fourth, I was just deciding whether to do a practice or read a little more. We're going to read a little more.
Yeah,
Because I have about 8 pages that I want to share with you, and we only have another 40 minutes.
for the beginning of
The fourth is that one accepts, as if they were a pleasure, the things one dislikes and cannot stand. In the place of a bowl of wine, the bowl of poison. He's not telling you to drink poison. Do not do that. Don't do that. That's not the instruction. The fourth step is that one accepts, as if they were a pleasure, the things one dislikes and cannot stand. Overcoming our aversions.
Can you say it again?
Overcoming our aversions. Oh, what Murshid said. The fourth is that one accepts, as if they were a pleasure, the things one dislikes and cannot stand.
It's very hard.
It's the hardest. It's not the hardest. The next one is harder. But it's pretty up there.
Yeah, and I'm like, that is very hard.
Yeah, yeah. Yochanan, did you have something else? Okay. I can immediately think of at least 5 different spiritual path approaches that include overcoming aversions. That includes notice the things that we are attached to and the ways that we put our preferences in charge of our lives and our happiness. That our peace is determined by the outer circumstances. And we want to recognize those things and untangle those attachments and dissolve them so that we can feel an equanimity and a freedom in any circumstances. And it is a hard one. So my suggestion is always to start with little things. like the color pink, for example.
I
That's
thought the same.
that's my token example in my own life is pink. But actually, the pink, I started doing all kinds of things at that same time. That, in case this is useful for any of you, that the thing in my life, and I'm not a master at this either, that I do notice the things that I'm like, oh, I don't like that, and then I will deliberately try to steer myself to make friends with it, and not in an unsafe way. So my system for this that I just created was because something totally stupid, I saw something that was pink and I was like, ugh. And my ugh was the tip off to me that, oh, I have some work to do. And right now, it's something totally benign and ridiculous. It's a color. Is there any reason to be averse to a particular color? No, there's not. I mean, I could say, well, because my childhood associations of whatever, and that's fine. And that can be helpful for us to overcome aversions by understanding where they come from. We can go, oh, that's why. And do I still need to be loyal to that opinion? Do I still need to be loyal to that experience, to that pain, to that disappointment, to that pain or discomfort, right? So understanding things is a good part of that process. And then in my own life, I started taking all of the things that I don't like as lessons and deliberately worked with them. That included several food things. I'm a very picky eater, just I was born a picky eater. My mother will still complain about it. From my earliest childhood memories are about being very distraught about foods I didn't like. So there's an importance about noticing that we want to overcome our preferences and aversions in a way that is safe. And so the first question is it safe and a good idea, a healthy choice to overcome this aversion? And if it is, then we can start to work with it and to invite it in ways that we're willing and able to stretch into. And on the Sufi path, none of these things are supposed to be done from any sense of compulsion, from any sense of obligation or have-tos. That they come because either we have an awakened heart of love that just naturally has us moving through and overcoming those things, or because we recognize the value on the other side of it. That it is the desirable things that pull us through the aversions and away from those attachments, right? It's never out of a sense of punishment or a lack of safety or disrespect to ourselves or anything else, right? It is said to be the path of love. Okay, fifth step. Are you ready for the fifth step? Is taken when one feels the rein of one's mind in one's hand. Rein as in the bridle on a horse, right? The fifth step is taken when one feels the rein of one's mind in one's hand. For then one begins to feel tranquility and peace at will. This is just like riding on a very vigorous and lively horse, yet holding the reins firmly and making it walk at the speed one desires. When this step is taken, the murid, the student, becomes a master. Here's that whole section 30 more times. The fifth step is taken when one feels the rein of one's mind in one's hand. For then one begins to feel tranquility and peace at will. This is just like riding on a very vigorous and lively horse, yet holding the reins firmly and making it walk at the speed one desires. When this step is taken, the murid becomes a master.
feel like you have to say it more.
I know, that was only one of 29 more times I was gonna say it. Here's I know, I won't really say it 30 times, but at least 2 more.
60%.
At least 2 more. The 5th step is taken when one feels the rein of one's mind in one's hand. For then, one begins to feel tranquility and peace at will. This is just like riding on a very vigorous and lively horse, yet holding the reins firmly and making it walk at the speed one desires. When this step is taken, the murid becomes a master. One more time. The 5th step is taken when one feels the rein of one's mind in one's hand, for then one begins to feel tranquility and peace at will. When you are in charge of the quality and activities of your own mind, you can just wish to feel peace and tranquility any time you want. Please notice he does not say, if you hold the reins of your mind in your hand, you will be miserable and feel restricted and oppressed and imprisoned, and you will have nothing but suffering. No, the result is that you will feel peace and tranquility whenever you wish. This is just like riding on a very vigorous and lively horse, yet holding the reins firmly and making it walk at the speed one desires. I would add to that, and in the direction one desires. When this step is taken, the murid becomes a master.
As someone who grew up on a ranch riding horses, that does mean something.
Yeah. Thank you, Yochanan. Okay. How are y'all doing? Are you okay?
We're good? At least I'm good.
Yochanan is good. He's speaking for everyone. How are you doing out there in Zoom land? Are you okay? Oh, Musa. Yeah, go ahead, friend.
Could you remind me, I missed your sentence back at the beginning. What is the theme of today?
Oh, does it matter? Like at this point, are we like, this applies to every theme? The theme for today is the path of initiation and discipleship.
Good, I guess right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're in volume 10, the path of initiation and discipleship, on the different steps on the path. So starting out with, what does this mean? What does initiation mean? And how does that happen? You choose someone that you have confidence in, and from the moment of initiation, the initiator takes on a responsibility for wishing for the well-being of the student, of the pupil, is the word that he used. And the pupil, the student, the murid, takes on the responsibility of trust and confidence and having faith unwavering, regardless of all of the tests and trials. And then there are the steps and stages of the path. That starts with being responsive to beauty, then the ecstasy, then tolerance, tolerance and forgiveness. I was like, did I miss one? No, tolerance and forgiveness. Then accepting the things one does not like as if one does like them. And now holding the reins of one's mind in one's hand. Okay, Musa, your little emoji hand is still raised. Do you want to say something else? I'm thinking probably not, because you would have unmuted. Okay.
I can't figure out how
There
to
you go. I
get
got
rid,
it. There you
how
go.
to get rid of the hand. Okay, good.
Well, now I'll know if you put it up again. I'll know to pay attention. Okay. So, holding the reins of one's mind in one's hand. That's the fun part.
That's what we're gonna practice.
You see this? This is the bag that I have my fun killer in, which was a gift from our friend Aliella also. That's a Dance of Universal Peace logo. Okay. So I think that we are all aware that we have proven to ourselves that our qualities of thought and feelings are tied to the breath, yes? That when we are having frantic thoughts, the breath comes along for the ride, right? And when we're having some intense emotions, positive or negative, it is reflected in the breath. And generally, because we don't spend most of our lives just being conscious of the breath flowing in and out of the body, we don't notice the ways that the breath is tied to the thoughts and emotions that arise. And so we, through most of our lives, neglect grabbing hold of our thoughts and emotions because we're not grabbing hold of the breath. So any of the Kasab practices are invitations to grab hold of the breath, to shape it according to our will, and it is easy to see that our thoughts and our emotions respond, that whatever quality is happening in our thoughts and feelings, if we shape the breath in a certain direction, the thoughts and the feelings are shaped in that same direction. So it's not necessarily a causal relationship one direction or the other. It is correlated, and so either direction that we go, there's an effect, right? So if you tell yourself, I am going to feel a certain way, you can make yourself feel a certain way, and your breath will respond, right? And you can say, oh, I'm feeling this way, and I don't want to feel that way, so I'm going to tend to the breath, and the emotion will respond. Right? Yochanan, did you want to add something?
I had a question about one of the words you used. Any of the something practices?
Yeah, Kasab, it's spelled different ways, but generally Qasab. You can think about in kind of yogic terms as a pranayama, that is the practice of the breath, but in a specific, in a controlled way. It means controlling the breath in a direction that you choose. Yeah, so in the Sufi terminology, you can also look at the word fikr, which is not controlling the breath, but using it as it is, where you let the breath go naturally in whatever rhythm and cadence it's doing, and you add a thought to it as a concentration. But this one goes the other way. You go, I am going to tell the breath what I want it to do. Yeah.
Do you do more work in that?
We do both.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now, we're going to tell the breath what to do and shape it, which is why I have my fun killer on.
Oh, is that funny? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we're not going to do a big long series of them as we sometimes do. Right now, we are simply going to put the audible timekeeper on so that we point it in a particular direction. Let me make this a little louder. Can you all hear that okay? Okay.
The musician in me wants to know what setting you're using.
60 beats per minute.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, which is typically what I do, that because it's so, it's the most predictable and comfortable for us. It's the same timing as the second hand of a clock. So if you don't have a metronome, you can attune to any visible or audible clock, second hand. So right now, I'm going to suggest, and you can do anything you want with it. The whole point is not to do my instruction for it. The whole point is to give your breath an instruction, right? So I'll make a suggestion, and then you can take it or leave it, shape it in a different way if you wish, but I encourage you to to actually choose something that you're going to put your breath into this rhythm right now. So Murshid suggests that we inhale an even count. So maybe you're inhaling for 4 beats and exhaling for 4 beats. He suggests not doing 5 or 7 or 9, that the body doesn't rest in an uneven count. The body rests more, like our minds feel like an even count is complete. So if we breathe in for, it can be 6 counts, that's fine. Breathe out for 6 counts, but I'll encourage you to choose a number. You can change it. If you notice that you choose a number to begin with and it's too fast or too slow, you can change it, but change it on purpose with your intention. So perhaps we want to start with a 4 count inhalation and a 4 count exhalation with no pause at the peak of the inhalation or at the depth of the exhalation. And if you wish, while you're breathing in for 4 and breathing out for 4, one of the ways that Murshid suggested we can shape the mind around this is to inhale the name Allah and breathe out Hu. Breathing in Allah and breathing out Hu. So maybe start with 4, and if that feels too fast, try stretching it to 6. If that's still too fast, stretch it to 8. Breathing in Allah, breathing out Hu, and being consistent. So the inhalation and the exhalation are the same length. No pause. And we'll just have a few minutes of shaping the breath according to your will. A few more breaths. I'll turn the metronome off. And then just let your breath return to its own natural rhythm. And just notice what you're experiencing in the quality of your thoughts and the atmosphere of your heart and the energy of your physical body. Is there anything you'd like to share about your experience and observations managing the breath?
I had very few little thoughts. I started at about a 6 count, then slowed down to an 8 count. The thoughts I had were, or the word thought that came was, breathe in light, breathe out love, breathe in peace, breathe out love. I immediately thought of that song that we sing.
Beautiful. Thank you, Yochanan.
I don't know if I can say it all out. It's one or the other.
Yeah, totally fine.
But I also noticed like finding that comfortable number. That was kind of like, I was like, okay, let's try 6. Oh, we're going to 8, maybe 10. Nope, we're back down.
Yeah.
It's like just trying to figure that out. And sometimes I would forget and then take like a really long, like a quick inhale. And then be stuck. I'm like, oh, I made it to like 4, and then you have to make it to 8. Okay.
Yeah.
It's all of those things.
Yeah. Great observations, though. The physical experience of it and the mental experience of it, and also the tension that you notice around it. So all good awarenesses. With any of these things, we can shape them in the ways that work for us, and we can go, well, here's the specific instruction, and that feels stressful, so I'm going to adjust it. And so it is okay, like you could adjust the metronome. So if 6 is not long enough and 8 is too long, then you can adjust the metronome into the right time so that it's the number of ticks that you want, but the amount of time that is comfortable for your physical body. And also, most of you have been with me when we've done the practices that are based on your own pulse. That is a little bit more subjective than I wanted to do today because of the subject matter for today. But that is also an excellent way of taking your natural impulse, breath comfort out of the picture and assigning an arbitrary value to it, but that is oriented around your own physiology. So using your heartbeat for the number of inhalations and exhalations is good too.
You know, when you mentioned pulse, I took my own pulse, and it certainly seemed to be right around 60.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't try to take my pulse, but I watched it because I could actually see it happening in my eyes while we were doing that practice. And I was like, oh, yep, there I am, 60. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I have no idea whether that is my natural pulse or I think it's a little slower than natural, and it probably means I was tuning into the metronome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Up until today, I didn't like the sound of the metronome, but after you turned it off, I was like, wait, I like that.
Oh,
The beep, or if I would hear it from a clock or anything, I'm like, that's really annoying. I don't like that, you know, because you start connecting my breath to it,
Yeah.
and then you turn it off. I really wanted to actually put it back on because it's
Yeah.
really nice to connect my breath to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to notice that too, that there is a comfort that we develop with the practices, even if they are like restrictive practices or something that is like a discipline practice, that there can be a great comfort in that, and we can get used to it and feel that as a nourishing quality. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Step 4.
Step 4.
There you go, exactly, yeah. That's it.
Thank you, Sadiq.
The hard one.
About something that you said, Zahira, with the not being able to concentrate on both. Sometimes it can help. Like, I feel like the who is easier to count with because it doesn't have a punctuated sound in it. That is just like who. But with Allah, that's not as easy because it's split in the middle with 2 syllables. So sometimes I've given some instructions that you can either say Allah once for that whole thing, or you can split it up into the even beats. So if you're doing an 8 count, you could say Allah 4 times, saying Allah, 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 right? So it might be helpful if you want to try to concentrate on those things, to try lining it up different ways with the beats and see if your mind naturally like settles into one of them working for you. And if not, that's totally fine too.
Using my fingers too, that will be more helpful.
Yeah. Whatever tools we have that support us, use them. Yeah.
Foot taps.
Foot taps too. Yeah.
When's a good time to use these practices?
Yes.
Whenever,
Yes.
whenever they come to mind.
If we know that well, okay, I'll give you a real answer. Murshid says that the practices, and especially the breath practices, but any of them are like the winding of a clock. That if you do it once a day at the same time of day and have a nice consistent rhythm, then your whole system becomes attuned to that, and then it moves on in that rhythm by itself for the next 24 hours. So that's like once a day is good. And if you can develop some routine around it, so it's a consistent time of day, a consistent activity, a consistent location, that ritual component of being able to anticipate it and plan on it and expect that is really supportive and good. If you don't have the discipline built up for that, or if your life rhythms change too much, or if you just don't like that, any time of day that you can do it is better than not doing it. Yeah. For the breath practices in particular, like this that we were just doing, first thing in the morning is ideal. And there are some that we can recognize different qualities. Like we're not going to right now, but we could go through a big list of beautiful names of God and say, at what time of day do you feel like this would be particularly effective or useful? And some of them will be better in the morning, and some will be better in the evening, and some will be better midday, and it depends on what the quality is and what we want with it. So those things would be different answers. Well, I think we've gotten through about half of what I wanted to get through, and we have 15 minutes left. Shall we cruise through some more? You want to hear more of Murshid's readings? More than doing lots of practices? Ah. Oh gosh, I brought way too much for you. Okay, so that was a specific Qasab practice, is just balancing the breath, equal inhalation, exhalation, with an arbitrary timekeeper outside of yourself for added component of discipline. The time of initiation is meant to be a time for clearing away all the sins of the past. If you don't like the word sins, you could say discomforts or confusions or obstacles or distractions of the past. The cleansing of sins is like a bath in the Ganges. It is the bath of the spirit in the light of knowledge. We have all kinds of things in our lives that can provide that moment of taking advantage of whatever opportunity we can to dissolve, to heal, to make peace with, to reconcile, to let go, and to set a clean intention for moving something forward in the way that we choose. So the time of initiation is meant to be a time for clearing away all the sins of the past. The cleansing of sins is like a bath in the Ganges. It is the bath of the spirit in the light of knowledge. For that one, we would do approximately 10 million recitations of Astaghfirullah. Let's do 11. And I think we're going to come back to Astaghfirullah as part of Zikr tonight, so we'll have a more extended practice with that. So 11 repetitions of asking the forgiveness of God, or just putting all of the responsibilities for forgiveness and untanglement into the hands and the heart of the one, which is where they live anyway. Astaghfirullah, 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 Astaghfirullah. 3 more. Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. From this day, the page is turned. The murid, the student, makes his vow to the murshid, to the teacher, that he will treasure the teachings of the masters in the past and keep them secret, that he will make good use of the teachings and of the powers gained by them, and that he will try to crush his nafs, his ego. Crush. Murshid knows we don't like the word crush. He gives lots of other words too, but that's the one he's using in this passage. From this day, the page is turned. The murid makes his vow to the murshid that he will treasure the teachings of the masters in the past and keep them secret. That he will make good use of the teachings, and of the powers gained by them, and that he will try to crush his nafs, his ego. He vows that he will respect all of the masters of humanity as the one embodiment of the ideal man, and will consider himself the brother not only of all the Sufis in the order to which he belongs, but also outside that order, of all those who are Sufis in spirit, although they may call themselves differently, and of all mankind, without distinction of caste, creed, race, nation, or religion. Here's that 30 more times. I'm going to change the phrasing of it this time, though, to either make it gender neutral or feminine. She vows that she will respect all the masters of humanity as the one embodiment of the ideal human, and will consider herself the sister not only of all the Sufis in the order to which she belongs, but also outside that order of all those who are Sufis in spirit, although they may call themselves differently, and of all humanity without distinction of caste, creed, race, nation, or religion. I'm going to cruise through the rest of the readings. It's this much, because we can. Sufis engage in halqa, a circle of Sufis sitting and practicing zikr, remembrance, and fikr, which is the silent concentration of remembrance, so that the power of the one helps the other. Sufis engage in halqa, a circle of Sufis sitting and practicing together, so that the power of the one helps the other. We are contagious in these ways. Furthermore, this is the last section of reading. Pay particular attention. Are you ready?
Go.
Furthermore, they practice tawajjuh, a method of receiving knowledge and power from the teacher in silence. This way is considered by Sufis to be the most essential and desirable. That is, attuning to and absorbing the atmosphere of the teacher. Sometimes a receptive murid attains in a moment greater perfection than he might attain in many years of study or practice, because it is not only his own knowledge and power that the murshid imparts, but sometimes it is the knowledge and power of Rasul, of the Prophet, and sometimes even of God. It all depends upon the time and upon how the expressive and receptive souls are focused. The task of the Sufi teacher is not to force a belief on a murid, but to train him so that he may become illuminated enough to receive revelations himself. I have time to read that paragraph again. Are you ready? Here it is again. I'm going to change the pronouns and words some to make it either feminine or neutral. Furthermore, they practice tawajjuh, a method of receiving knowledge and power from the teacher in silence. This way is considered by Sufis to be the most essential and desirable. Sometimes a receptive murid attains in a moment greater perfection than she might attain in many years of study or practice, because it is not only her own knowledge and power that the murshid imparts, but sometimes it is the knowledge and power of Rasul, and sometimes even of God. It all depends upon the time and upon how the expressive and receptive souls are focused. The task of the Sufi teacher is not to force a belief on a murid, but to train her so that she may become illuminated enough to receive revelations herself. So there are so many different practices that we can do that are really inviting ourselves into the atmosphere of the teacher, that are done through wazifa recitations, like reciting beautiful names like we have been doing today. And also, as Sophia was pointing out in looking at the picture, that there are these tasawwuri meditation practices where, I'm not going to go into it right now because we don't have time, but that is a meditation process where we envision in front of us the teacher as if the teacher is physically sitting in front of us, that is this close, that you can do, any of us can do, anywhere we are, anytime. And it is, you are entirely right, Sophia, in saying that it is encouraged not to use a photograph for those. That the photograph is a good reminder about the actual image of what this person looks like, but to use the photograph just to get you started, and then to put the photograph aside and to close your eyes and envision in front of you the teacher. And to see the teacher as if he or she is sitting right in front of you in the same posture that you're sitting in. So if you're sitting in a chair, you would see the teacher sitting in a chair across from you from like 5 feet away or so, and sitting, reflecting your posture. And in that meditation, visualizing the teacher, you imagine that you're breathing at the same time. And you can do this either direction, where perhaps you're exhaling while the teacher is inhaling, and the teacher is exhaling while you inhale, so that you're sending the breath back and forth. Or you can do it where your breath is synchronized, so you're both inhaling and exhaling at the same time, so that you're experiencing the inhalation at the same time and exhalation at the same time. And that practice can be done with all kinds of different levels of connecting the heart, Lataif, the different energy centers of your own heart with the energy centers of the teacher, connecting with your physical eyes closed, but envisioning your eyes open and the teacher's eyes open so that you can connect in the gaze in your meditation. So there are all of these beautiful ways that we can attune to really inviting ourselves towards the ideals that the teacher embodies, so that we can invite those qualities into our own lived experience ongoingly. Okay, so we'll finish this section with the prayer Nabi. That is, I'm not sure which page it is in the thing. Oh, and I have it ready for the chat window for you.
Midday?
Yes, it's one of the midday prayers. It's the shorter of the midday prayers. Oh. Okay, it's in the chat window for you, I think. Yeah. Okay. A torch in the darkness, a staff during my weakness, a rock in the weariness of life. Thou, my Master, make earth a paradise. Thy thought gives me unearthly joy. Thy light illuminates my life's path. Thy words inspire me with divine wisdom. I follow in thy footsteps, which lead me to the eternal goal. Comforter of the broken-hearted, support of those in need, friend of the lovers of truth, blessed Master, thou art the prophet of God.